What do you get if you take a milkman, turn him into a Twi'lek, make his truck hover, drop him into the Tatooine desert, grime it up, then make it fit with the Star Wars universe? Let's find out by making a diorama of exactly that. I bought this army vehicle kit secondhand to use in this kit bash and assembled the main frame according to the instructions. This truck is going to be hovering, so I removed the wheel drums to make it more Star Wars-y and less car-y. I know the interior is not going to be very visible in the end, so it's a great place to experiment with techniques that are new to me. I think this meshed together pretty well. I didn't like the simplified hood, and it also hides the motor I spent an hour putting together, so I'm cutting it in half and making my own little hinge using the metal rod from a needle and some aluminum foil. Extremely fiddly job, but I'm happy with that. I recently found the channel cut, transform glue, and naturally I had to disassemble my old printer for parts. This orange thing is just a plastic bit I found on the ground on a hike. Comment below if you know what it is. Some more printer parts and also bits of a sprue to add more details to the bottom. I hope you liked that little film trick there. The thrusters are made from more bits from the printer, drywall screw plugs, bits from the original kit, bits from an R2-D2 Banta kit, and just some electric wires. I stick these wires into already made holes in other parts of the bottom. I think it's coming together. What do you think?
What a piece of junk!
At this point in the build, my channel reached 10,000 subscribers, which is a huge milestone for me. As a celebration, I made this painting rack frame from an old oak table. This gives me more space on the bench, but it also adds a decorative element. I know what you're thinking. Isn't that a very inefficient way of storing paint bottles? I agree, but just look how cool it looks. Thanks to everyone who subscribes. And now, back to the build. The front still looked like an old truck, so I gave it some fins by attaching these miniature plastic signs to some bits from the R2-D2 kit. I was considering just adding boxes and cargo, but I really like the shape of this dental floss container. After some gribbling, I gave the whole model a good wash in soapy water and let it dry. Once dry, I thin Tamiya putty with nail polish remover and brush it onto the most problematic plastic to help the primer and paint stick better. The extra layer of texture is just a bonus. GAAHLERI sent me this Mobius 0.2mm airbrush to test out. Though they sent it to me for free, I made it very clear to them I'd only give honest feedback. So far, it's been a treat to work with. The two biggest differences I've noticed are it uses air more efficiently than my previous airbrush, giving me greater control and range. And more importantly, it hasn't clogged once during this project. I can be less meticulous about the water-paint ratio and spend more time painting, which really matters to me when I'm in the zone. Thanks to GAAHLERI for sending me this awesome upgrade to my tools. There's a GAAHLERI affiliate link in the description with discounts and a small kickback to me. To transition back into painting, I started with the interior. When the interior was done, I masked off the windows with the masking fluid and loosely attached the cab before tackling the rest of the paint job on the outside. But first, a little commercial break.
I found a recipe you won't find in a cookbook, but it's sure nutritious and a real money saver too. Mix, chill, and serve. You get 2 quarts of fresh-tasting low-fat milk. Good for you and your budget too.
There's a Bantha Blue Milk affiliate link in the description with discounts and a small kickback to me. I am going to alter this 1/35th scale miniature from mini-art into a Twi'lek character from Star Wars by giving him some head tails called Lekus. Stick around to the end of the video to hear the story behind this diorama. I attached the miniature to where he's going to end up before spraying the zenithal highlight. So the highlights and shadows are established before painting. I do, however, remove the mini for painting separately later. I airbrushed the base layer in a rusty brown color. This is what's going to show up when I start the chipping process. I don't have a chipping medium, but my wife has hairspray, so let's try that. I spray an even coat all over, let it sit for about 15 minutes before airbrushing on the next paint layers. I let the paint dry for about 10 minutes, then I start chipping with a stiff, short, bristled brush dipped in water. I don't want a subtle effect, so I go to town. I think it's really coming together. What do you think?
What a piece of junk.
To avoid additional chipping, I coat the whole model in a protective layer of varnish. Tamiya panel liner is used to make the details extra crisp and stand out. I make smoother transitions and cleanups with isopropyl alcohol. I'm done with the airbrush at this stage, so now I can remove the liquid mask, which worked like a charm. I did some searches online and found old blue cars left in the desert often had these white sun-bleached spots. So I watered down and glazed this ivory color on top, and it made a huge difference to the overall look. Not only did it make the model look more three-dimensional, but it also made it look more realistic. Africa dust enamel effects is used to make things look dry and sandy. I felt the truck needed a Bantha Blue Milk logo, so I printed it out and made a stencil. Now I'm adding rust and grime enamel effects to blend the colors between the rust and the paint on top. Again, an effect that is subtle, but makes a big difference. Alright, time to make the base. I found this XPS foam scrap piece and cut it into an oval. This frames the model in such a way that it's not meant to be observed from just one angle, but all around. I could go for an all sand base, but I wanted the base to be a bit more interesting. I really like using cork in my builds. The brown earth diorama paste ties the base and the cork together. More sand, rocks and dust is added and attached with gravel and sand fixer. Unfortunately, the gravel and sand fixer melted some of the unprotected foam, but no problem, as I have to fill the gap between the foam layers anyway. I will make the model hover using an acrylic rod to hold it up. I airbrush a fake shadow in the shape of the truck, then add more enamel effects all over. To tie the truck to the base, I add the same dusting and enamel effects to it. The truck is done, and I can now paint the milkman. While I do, let me tell you the story behind this diorama. The story of Stran'Vahl, a Twi'lek who dreams of becoming a podracer. Not a champion necessarily, just someone who could feel the roar of the engines, the thrill of the speed, and living behind the danger, the chaos, and the tightening grip of the crime on Ryloth, his home planet. There were tracks back home, out in the bright lands, But despite the awful conditions of the area, no one was willing to back him, not a single sponsor. He wasn't just chasing a dream, he was trying to get away. So when he caught wind of a sponsor looking for a pilot to make runs on Tatooine, he saw it as a way out. He spent half his credits on a one-way ticket, and the rest he paid up front to secure what he was told was a vehicle of great promise. But the sponsor wasn't a sponsor at all. It was an employer, the Bantha Blue Milk company. And the vehicle? A clunky repulsor truck with more rust than range. Instead of racing, he'd be delivering blue milk to scattered settlements from Mos Espa to Anchorhead. That was 10 years ago. Now Stran'Vahl tells himself it's temporary. But the desert doesn't care about dreams, it only cares if your engine starts. Out here, he's more worried about being stranded in no man's land than chasing old fantasies. The heat, the silence, the sand people watching from the ridges, the psychotic Javas who scavenge anything that moves. This is not the life he imagined. Too hot, too dry, and the sand gets in everywhere. Exhaling in relief as the engine finally groans back to life, long after it gave out on him, hours from the nearest outpost. And with that, let's take a look at the final build. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this build and the story behind it, consider giving it a like and subscribing to the channel. It really helps me out and I appreciate every one of you. Until next time, goodbye.
What a piece of junk!